Hi there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. In this video, I'm putting together my Project Life spread for June 28th through June 30th, 2023. And in this spread, I am using the Ali Edwards Stories by the Month kit for June 2023. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so I'm working on the week, well, not really a week, but the spread that's June 28th through June 30th, 2023. And the reason why this is it's actually only 2.5 days, because the week prior, which I have a process video for, I will link that up now if you missed it, was the week that my daughter and I went to Montreal, and we drove home on June 28th. So I do 2 Project Life albums per year, and I split it at June 30th, and I just didn't want to split it in the middle of July or, end on the trip. I want to split it at June 30th, which just wasn't a clean break, but it worked. So what I ended up doing is I'm making this spread June 28th through 30th. Now I considered doing just the back here for that and then ending it like that, but I decided I really want to do a recap spread on the back to recap the first 6 months of the year. So I really kind of stretched it and found some additional pictures. I did include our drive home because otherwise this photo would not have made it into my album. And I just have a bunch of everyday life photos here, just random things I was working on during these few days. And then I'm going to be working with the Ali Edwards kit for the Stories by the Month kit for June. So I haven't even really looked at this kit yet. I'm just going to kind of quickly go through it. I think they accidentally gave me 2 of this, which is awesome. But I don't think I'm going to use this in Project Life or in this spread, although I think that this page would be really great in Project Life. And that is something I want to try to share more on my channel here, is because these kits are including larger papers. I do want to share ideas for how to use these in pocket page spreads for people who are doing that. But for this page, I think that this one would be great because you could cut all of these out and use them as journaling spots, especially on 4x6 photos. Or if you didn't want to cover up your photo, you could just glue that on top of pattern paper and use that for 6 journaling cards across the spread, which actually be super fun, but I do want to use some of the other cards. This one is just a pattern, which is always easy to use in Project Life, in my opinion, because you can just cut cards out of it. It would be great to cut a 4x6 title card and put a label in the middle. It is plastic and transparent, which provides a neat effect. If you want to put it in a pocket and then put another spread behind it, it would kind of show through, but not a ton. And then on the next week on the back, you would have the back of this to play with, which I think is fun. I'm not sure that I'm going to do that this week, but that is something to keep in mind with that. I'm going to focus on the cards first, but I might pull in those papers. This kit also came with these 4x4 pieces here. They are plastic cards that say details. They are kind of designed to look similar to these, but these ones are rectangles and these are squares. These work perfectly in pocket pages if you're using 4x4 pockets, but if you are using 4x6, you could include it either centered on pattern paper or to one side with pattern paper on the side. Or if you want to use 3x4, I think you could crop it down like that, and it my photo would be covering it there, and that would be kind of a neat way to write in it as well. I don't think I'm going to use these either because I do want to focus on the cards, but it is fun to see what is in the kit to work with. Before I get to the cards, let's see, we have the chipboard here. I really like these. I think I'm going to be able to include some of these. Just trying to consider them. Some of these will work for this spread, but otherwise I will save them. They're all very fun. I like Bring On the Next Chapter because this is the end of the album. But I might not use it just because I have that back page, but for people who are ending their album at June 30th, that is great. I always love circle labels. There's the stamp as always. And then let's get into the cards. So in 3 words, I can sum up everything I've learned about life. It goes on. I love that one. I'm going to include that as a filler card. I tend to like to alternate photo and filler card. Actually, I probably will put them like this, or photo journal card, but because there were only 4, so this spread, you get 4 of one and then 5 of the other. But because this one isn't journaling, it might be nice to kind of have the photos like this and have this here. Just a thought, but we'll see how it ends up shaking out once I decide all of the pieces I want to use. June 3 things, I'm definitely going to use that one. This and that I think would be good for some stories for this week. Moments to remember, the highs, the lows, everything in between is good for a longer story. Then let's see what we have here. Okay, so there's these 3 4x6 cards. I think this one works the best for the title, so I'm definitely going to use that as my title card. This one I think would be cute. I could crop it down to be a 3x4, just because I need more 3x4s and less 4x6s. This one is great to cut up. I do have a lot more spots to fill. I had this here, and a lot of that is just because I'm trying to fit 2.5 days on a full spread here. I have this because I got some new coffee from Brooklyn, and so I'm gonna kind of crop this down and include it in a pocket. So I definitely want to do that. I think I need to just kind of scissor this first. Cut it with scissors here, and then I will use my trimmer to get it to the right size. I like this where it says roasted in New York City. I also like some of these other pieces. I might even use 2 things from this, because this doesn't actually have their name, which is right there. Let's see, I'm gonna get this one cropped down. So when trying to crop down ephemera like this, I trim it with scissors first, then I'm gonna use my paper trimmer here to get something like around the right size that I need. And then I'm gonna measure it out to try to get, so it will be 3x4. Because it's so thick, I want it to be a little bit smaller than 3x4 so that it fits in the pocket better. And then let's see here, so 4. So that's what I end up with, which I actually really like how that looks. Then let's see, I'm gonna go over to my planner and figure out what stories I want to tell and what I might want to do in these other pockets. Okay, so I cropped this down and I went and looked at my calendar just to kind of see what stories I have. I really don't have that many stories this week, but I do have stuff I can fill those too. And then I think this one, I'm gonna journal about all the stuff that's like coming up, even though it is kind of July. Or I might go over like my goals for the month. So I'm thinking for these other ones, I want to create some like filler. So I'm thinking, let's see. Looking at some of these, like this one, thankful for today, could be, and it didn't, that's fine. I'm just gonna fix that with my scissors here. It just didn't punch out all the way. This one could be really cute on like a pattern. Oh, that's part of the design as a filler. And then, I also have the stamp. Thinking I could crop this and make a filler with it, but I kind of don't want to because it's plastic. I kind of want to save it. So I'm thinking I might pull some other stuff from my stash to fill in these spots. So I don't really have more journaling to do, so I do think I want to include another filler card, but because this is a quote card, so I think I am going to rearrange these. And I'm sorry if this is like repetitive, but hopefully it's helpful for you to kind of hear my process as I go through everything, and that makes it like okay that it's kind of repetitive, or as I'm like shuffling stuff around, because then you can hear like why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I'm gonna go ahead and crop this one down to 3x4. And so basically I'm using all of the cards from this month's kit except for this one. And I would use this one too, but I don't have that many stories to tell in addition to filling these journaling cards. So I'm okay with not using that. I also considered doing like what I said with this. Again, I just don't have that much to journal about because this is only 2 days. So I'm gonna go over to my stash and pull out some stuff to fill these pockets with. Okay, so I went over to my Project Life card organization and pulled out my summer themed 3x4 filler cards and journal cards. And some of these are from previous June stories by the month. Like this one's from July, but that way the colors are gonna coordinate. Like this one is from June. So I think I'm gonna include this one because it coordinates, because that is something that I do love, is that Allie doesn't change her color scheme. I love this one, but I don't have a sunset picture, so I don't want to use it. These ones are Father's Day things. Every summer has a story. I need to save that to use for my daughter. I love this one from Paper Person Shop. Juneteenth wasn't this week. Okay, and then moving on to the journal ones. Although I don't have more journaling, sometimes like this one I think I could use because I could, oh, I love that card though. I could come up with stuff to put in there. Yeah, so I think I'm gonna use that one because the colors work and I can easily come up with stuff to include in there. I believe this one's probably from Studio Calico. Okay, so that gives me a good starting place. I do need a pattern paper for that. I will probably look in my scrap drawer and find something, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just put the spread together. Okay, so I went over to my stash and I found this scrap piece of paper from Freckled Fawn. I believe it was probably from their June kit. So the colors worked really well. And I just cropped it down to have a background for that one pocket. And then I pulled over these labels from Allie Edwards from my stash, and I'm using them to add the dates onto that title card. I adhered that piece of chipboard down on that piece of scrap paper for that filler card, and then I'm working on my journaling. For this longer journaling, I'm just telling the story about Thursday. This was only a Thursday and a Friday and half of a Wednesday on this spread. So Thursday was kind of a long day, just getting back into routine, going back to work after our vacation, getting groceries, all that type of stuff. So I just journaled kind of about the schedule for the day and all the things that I had to do to kind of get back into the routine. On the this and that card, I just told the other stories from these few days. So these were the story of driving home from Montreal, so just kind of like our little road trip. And then the second story is about how Friday was my past day at work, so I don't work every other Friday. So I just journal about what I did that day. And then the third one was about my Friday night. So I just journaled a little bit about each activity and thing that I did during this 2.5 day period. I probably journaled a little bit more detail than I normally would just because I wanted to fill this spread, but I don't mind having additional details. It's nice to have those stories. And then I decided I really wanted to use chipboard as my main embellishment for this spread. So I went into my chipboard organization, which I will link for you guys. And I went through one that was my travel themed chipboard, and I pulled out one to put on that photo of us crossing the border back into the United States. And then I'm going through my food one to try to find one to fit on this photo of my breakfast one day, but I didn't find one that I liked. So I just moved on for now, and I'm working on the 3 things card. On these cards this year, I have been highlighting 3 big events from the month. So I did my daughter's prom, her graduation, and our trip to Montreal. These all kind of ended up centering around my daughter because this month was very focused on her as she's graduating high school. And moving into the summer, She is going to be moving out to college, and then my album and my life are going to be focused a little bit more on me and less on her. So at this point in time in June, I was really focused on her, and she was kind of the highlight of a lot of what was going on. I know she's not in a ton of the photos, but for whatever reason, we just don't end up taking a ton of photos together. Even on our trip to Montreal, I think we only took one photo together the entire time, which was kind of silly, but I guess that's just what it is. I am someone who takes a lot of photos, but I've just gotten in the habit of taking photos of things. So a lot of my photos are of things. So moving on to this June to-do list card, what I ended up doing was writing at the top, this month was so busy, I got a lot of stuff done, and creating a bullet point list of all of the things that I kind of accomplished this month outside of the ordinary. I did make a nod at the end, I wrote all the usual cleaning and tasks and work because, I did work full time. So that was probably where I devoted the most time in the month of accomplishing things, but that is not something that I typically journal about. But I did make note of all of the kind of one-off projects that I got done in June. And looking back on it now, I am so impressed with myself that I got so much accomplished during such a busy month. But that's probably why I'm feeling so much burnout now in the beginning of August when I'm recording this voiceover. So I moved on to this card, which says Summer Faves. This card was from Studio Calico, and I pulled it out of my stash. I'm just kind of writing down some general things that I'm really enjoying about this summer. They're kind of just activities that I like to do during the summer, like grilling, lounging by the pool, walking the rail trail, things like that I just am doing in general, not necessarily that I did during these 2 days. Moving back to embellishing, I'm going through the chipboard sheet that came with this kit and picking out some ones that I can make work on some of the photos. Some of these don't work perfectly. The one that says transition, it doesn't really make a ton of sense. What that photo is of me kind of typing up labels for my new story kit. So I guess I'm transitioning from one kit to the next. But I really just kind of wanted to use my supplies, and I liked how all the colors went together, and some of them do work. Like the one on my shopping cart says so much goodness in this right here. I thought that worked really well. And then the one on my work cubicle says one piece of a much bigger story because, I'm not really telling the story of everything I'm doing at work right now. Just took a quick little photo to show that I was back in the office. So just a way to simply embellish this spread. And I kind of just decided to not do embellishment clusters like I do often, and instead just focus on using chipboard because it's simple, it's easy. I love chipboard, and because that filler card that I created on the left-hand side with the yellow striped paper is just really focused on that chipboard piece. So you see, I saved that chipboard piece for last, that card, because I decided that it needed something, and it is pretty quick, but I am trying out different hearts and things from my stash, from the drawers that are underneath my desk. Those are in my embellishment storage, and I will link that for you guys. But I did end up selecting that star to use, and so I adhered it down, and I really like how it came out. Here's a look at that finished spread. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your support, and it helps me to keep adding and creating new videos for you every week. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.